Hey, it's Inve. Today I'm coming at you guys with a quick and dirty movement guide for Armored Core 4 Answer. I've noticed that a lot of newer players have been having some trouble getting to grip with some of the mechanics that the tutorial very poorly explains or doesn't explain at all. So I'm going to go over a few of them as well as some best practices for movement. First things first, every piece of advice in this is going to assume that your control options look like this. Regular B is the only control scheme in the game. I don't care if you've created a cool custom control scheme and you think it's better, it's not. Trust me and everyone else in the community, just use regular B. It might take a second to get used to, but it's by far the best control scheme for this game. Auto sighting should remain firmly on. This setting is the most useful shit. You see where it says automatically rotate to view the currently locked target? When it says automatically rotate, it means it. This will turn your camera for you and turn your AC. To the point where when you're playing, you don't want to touch the left stick, and I'll touch on that more later. Auto boost has to be off. Auto boost is a useless feature. It exists only to drain your resources and to make you look stupid. When auto boost is on, you will automatically always have your boosters on at all times. This is really bad because boosters take energy and you only have so much energy. You don't want this on. Do not put this on. Auto purge is more here and there. Auto purge is completely fine in single player. However, in multiplayer, auto purge can cause a great bug where when your right arm is purged and you have nothing on your right shoulder, your lock-on breaks for the other player and they just see you firing off into the distance, which means they don't take any damage from you. So while you can leave this on for single player, if you plan on playing multiplayer later, which you should. Sorry, I got some caught in my throat there. Yeah, if you plan on playing multiplayer later, you should just leave auto purge off and build good purging habits. Alright, that pretty much covers the prereq section. Again, I cannot stress enough, regular B. Use regular B. We'll be going over the controls in just a second. For cockpit, I like normal radar type. I don't really understand how people use this one. You can also change your color here. A lot of people don't know that. Just random aside. So I'm going to take us into the AC test and go over the actual movement portions of this. As you can see, my controller is on the bottom right hand corner of the screen for this whole time. So you can look down there to see exactly what I'm doing with my hands, which will be important. For now, I'm going to put us on no target just to stop things shooting at me. So I told you to use type B a lot in that last section. I figure I'll go over the controls real quick to make sure everyone's on the same page. X and A allow you to switch weapons. That swaps between your back and your arms. B turns your shoulder attachments on or off. In my case, I have relation missiles. You can see them open up here, but they only fire when you fire missiles along with them. And Y allows you to overboost. This button is not good in PvP. Don't push it. In PvE, it's quite cool. I mean, it looks very cool. You go kind of fast. But in practice, if you try and use it against another player, they'll just shoot you with grenades. Speaking of shooting, L1 and R1 are your shoot buttons. And then as for movement, L2 is to boost, and R2 is to quick boost. A couple of other unique controls for this game are to purge a weapon, you hold both switch buttons and then try and fire the side you'd like to purge, and that weapon will just pop off. And to reload, you hold down the switch button on the side you would like to reload. You can also just wait a little while out of combat. And the final funky control is jumping. Double tap on L2 to jump, and then keep holding the button to fly. Your flight button is pressure sensitive, so the harder you pull the trigger, the further up you'll fly. If you just kind of half pull it, you will hover. I think that pretty much covers the controls. From here we'll move on to the movement mechanics. So the first and biggest mechanic I'm going to talk about today is quick turning. Quick turning is an essential mechanic for this game. You need it to live. Basically, in For Answer, you may have noticed that turning takes kind of a long time. It's not as noticeable on this AC because it's a lightweight. But, you know, if someone was boosting around behind you or over your head, it would take quite a while to see them like this. So, to remedy that, the developers have given us this awesome thing called a quick turn, where you turn your camera and then quick boost, and it pivots your AC 90 odd degrees, or more or less, depending on your legs. And that is going to be something you do constantly. However, it's not mentioned in the game's tutorial, because From Software hate the people who play their games and want them to suffer. This mechanic sounds pretty, normal and easy, and you're probably wondering, if you've been playing for a second, why haven't I done this on accident? And that is the second part of the mechanic. If you are walking or holding the movement stick at the time that you try to quick turn, it doesn't work. So see, I'm holding forward and side and boosting, and I'm just boosting in a circle without actually quick turning. Now if I want to quick turn, I have to let go of the movement stick, and then I can quick turn. So once again, to quick turn, you have to not be touching this stick I'm moving right here, turn the camera, and then quick boost. If you want to keep momentum while doing it, just put a couple boosts before it and then quick turn. While you're quick turning, it's basically treated as a quick boost, so you won't fall. As you can see, I'm letting go of my normal boost in between quick turns here, and I messed that up. But you don't fall at the moment of quick turn. You only start falling afterwards. And that brings us neatly to our second point, which is letting go of L. L is probably your favorite button at this point, L2 I mean, which is the button you hold down to fly. This button, you want to be letting go of it every time you quick boost. If you can see on screen, my trigger's flashing. And what that does is it slowly allows your energy to regenerate in between quick boosts. If you see that small white bar at the top, which editing me will put a red circle around, it is slowly depleting and regenerating as I move around here. As long as I have let go of my boost trigger, my EN starts to regen. So if your generator has high enough output, in this case we're using Sombrero, which is the best generator in the game, if your generator has a high enough output, then your EN will regen quickly in between quick boosts, and you'll be able to stay in the air for a longer time. So the next point I'm going to be talking about is auto-sighting, which is probably one of the most useful mechanics in this game next to quick turning, which is, again, why I'm mentioning it. So for this test, I'll be needing my lovely volunteer, Kazumi Sumika, aka Serene Haze, to show up for us and fly around in circles. So, in this game, when you get a lock-on, you want to keep this lock-on pretty permanently. As long as you don't touch your right stick, this lock-on will pretty much not break unless the enemy moves off of your screen. So right now, my AC is turning to track her, even while I'm doing movement bullshit, trying to keep her in view. And it will just completely track her with no or minimal interaction with the right stick. In this game, in general, the only time you want to be interacting with your right stick is something like that, where your target moves quickly enough to get off of your screen and not be followed by the autosave. So, again, when you get a red lock, which you can see I have a red lock on Kasumi here with the little red reticle around her, just let go entirely of your right stick unless you have to quick turn. And then the only time you're going to be quick turning, again, is when they go completely off of your screen and break your lock on, or if you need to quickly maneuver to, say, keep them in lock while staying out of theirs, for instance. So, you again, basically do not aim in this game, just allow the game's auto-sight to take over for you. One thing that people tend to mess up with this is that if you do try and aim at all, it breaks your auto-sight pretty quickly. So right now I'm kind of manual aiming at her and trying to keep the reticle centered on her ends up with me breaking lock pretty frequently. It's much, much better and much, much easier to just allow the auto sight to do its thing. The next mechanic I'm going to touch on here is chain boosting. Normally, when you are boosting, you have a cooldown in between boosts. See, I'm spamming this boost much, much faster than they're actually coming out. However, if you boost in a different direction, you can cancel the animation. And forgive me here, I'm just waking up today, but there was one. As you can kind of see, it allows you to boost much, much, much faster and change directions a lot more quickly. So, for example, if there was someone behind this building, you could just chain over the building and quick turn face them. This is a more advanced mechanic, so it isn't something that you necessarily need for a single player, and it definitely isn't something that you should be doing all of the time. So as you can see, while chain boosting, energy drops very, very quickly. And well, that was kind of a poor example of a chain, and I'm sure people are going to laugh at me in the comments for it. It does demonstrate the point that repeatedly boosting drains your energy a lot. So chain boosting isn't really meant to be something that you do to get around 24/7, but if you need to quickly reposition to another area, a chain boost can let you move faster than normal boosting or just a single quick boost would. So you might have seen the inputs in that last section and thought to yourself, wow, chain boosting looks like it's a lot of inputs. You have to, boost quickly in different directions, and it seems kind of precise. If you're thinking that, I've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is there is an alternative form of going super fast in 4-answer, and that is called second staging. The bad news is it is harder to execute than chain boosting. So a second stage is this game's version of a perfect boost, basically. To get a perfect boost out, you need to pull your trigger to the perfect spot and then pull through to the end of your trigger. This is not possible on keyboard and mouse because it doesn't have pressure sensitivity, unfortunately. And if you happen to be using a third-party controller that's bad enough that doesn't have pressure sensitivity, first off, I'm very sorry for your thumbs. Second off, buy a new controller. So to demonstrate, or at least attempts to, a perfect boost is considerably longer with the boost flare. So as you can see, those boost flares, those last two boost flares were much larger compared to these ones. The sound is also a lot louder when you actually manage the second stage. And those are the two main indicators you'll look for. The third indicator is that it's like twice the speed of a normal quick boost, so you'll probably notice when you do it right. This mechanic is very, very challenging to do. Being able to consistently second stage is kind of what separates the good players from the great players. And if you can consistently do it, you will be faster than literally everybody in multiplayer. This mechanic is not required for single player. However, if you do want to play multiplayer, which you should totally practice it, or at least try to, while you're doing the single player. It'll give you a better feel for trying to do it in combat, which is very challenging. I personally am not very good at second staging, so if you decide to hop onto 1v1 me, because I've been challenging so many people to 1v1s recently, then learn how to second stage. You'll be able to beat me. Come on, do it, scrub. Gotta be easy, right? That aside, my rampant challenging to people to come play the games, I'm going to go over a couple of super common multiplayer bugs that are pseudo movement related and just, very, very common. The first one has to do with auto purge, which I mentioned at the beginning of the video. If you have auto purge on, when you run out of ammo, your weapons fall off of you. So in this case, let's just pretend that I'm out of ammo on my right side. If that were to happen, I would just be walking around like this in multiplayer, which, seems fine. My gun still works. Everything looks fine on my end. However, on the opponent's end, things do not look fine. If you do not have anything on your right side and you're shooting at your opponent like this, on their screen they'll just see you shooting off into nothingness. It's just an unfortunate multiplayer bug, and it means they'll basically take no damage. So make sure to turn auto purge off in multiplayer, otherwise you'll probably run into this. Another super common and related bug is having machine guns on your right arm. It basically does the same thing where you'll be firing fine on your screen, but your enemy just won't take damage because it doesn't look like they're being hit on their screen. Those two are probably the most common things that get run into, just because auto purge being a default option kind of enables that first bug, and a lot of people just like to have machine guns on their right side for that second. Another really common netcode bug is what we like to call circle glitching. So if you do this, which, you know, very innocuous, you're just going in a circle while boosting, you will desync the game and make it more challenging for your opponent to hit you. You might be thinking, oh great, I'll just do that all the time. If you do that, no one's going to play the game with you. It's a pretty small community, and yeah, people just will call you rude names and not play video games with you. If you want to avoid that, the best way to do that is to boost in a pattern like forward, side, or side, back, side, back. This will stop the game from desyncing and also just make your movement generally better and a little bit faster, because you can chain those inputs to be faster, like we went over earlier. I think that pretty much covers all of the stuff I wanted to go over in this video. Hopefully it's been helpful to newer players and will get people to, you know, move around a little bit more effectively in game. And I hope to see you guys all in multiplayer here soon sometime. I don't usually do this stuff because I know no one has cared about my videos before recently, but please subscribe. I like watching the number go higher, and I also want money.